life isn't about what happens to us. Life is about how we respond to what happens to us, you know.
Yeah, so good.
Like, adversity is going to happen to everybody. And to me, the most successful people that I know, that I encounter every day, are people that respond well to adversity.
It's been a while, so it's great to see you again.
Great to see you, Chris.
Yeah, great to see you.
My pleasure. Pleasure's on this side of the table.
No, it's on this side of the table. We're not. There isn't even a table here.
There's no table.
We're hanging out at your mom and dad's house right now.
Grandma and Grandpa's house. The mean streets of Livonia, Michigan.
The last time I interviewed you, your son was just like a couple months old.
Yeah.
Now you guys are about to celebrate his 7th birthday.
Yeah, he turns 7 tomorrow. We're going to Kalahari indoor water park for the next 3 days, pulling him out of school. When I turned 7, I did not go to Kalahari. I did not have a birthday party. I did not get V-Bucks for my Fortnite addiction. I had a crappy, moldy bowling alley party with 3 or 4 of my closest friends, and I got a blow-up pin, a balloon pin.
Well, that's kind of good.
And that was my take-home.
Okay.
You know, times have changed in the past, 30 years, I guess.
You're a father of 2.
I'm a 36-year-old father of 2. I pay taxes. I'm engaged to be married. We're not married yet. We've been together for 11 years. We live as if we are married. According to the taxes we pay and according to the state of Michigan, we have a common law marriage.
Okay.
But we're officially making it super official in front of our friends, in front of God, in September. So we're excited about that too.
I'm just so proud of everything you've accomplished over the last bunch of years. We worked a bunch of independent shows together.
Yes.
And it's great to see everything you've accomplished. You're on the road telling your story, inspiring people. It inspires me.
Thank you. Thank you. And it goes both ways too, because I see you out there living in Miami, interviewing Pitbull every other day. You see what I'm saying? You're close personal friends with Pitbull, the largest star in the world. You're
Mr.
interviewing
Worldwide.
Yes, Mr. Worldwide. You're hanging out with The Rock.
Yes.
You're on his yacht.
Yeah, me and Dwayne were best friends, yeah.
Yeah. You and Rhino in Big Daddy's boatyard.
Yeah, get a little plug here. Rhino actually dropped me off here. Yeah, I did an interview with Rhino earlier today. Maybe some people already saw that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you pulled up, at your mom and dad's house.
There's no other feeling in the world than pulling up to your mom and dad's house and Rhino is in your front driveway, just hanging out.
At least, because to other people, Rhino in your driveway would be terrifying.
It would be.
He's a scary looking man.
It filled my heart with joy, though.
So you are, I guess, officially a semi-retired wrestler.
As a wrestler, yeah. I'm semi-retired. Honestly, if I look back at my career, I couldn't have scripted it better. All of my dreams were fulfilled and then some, beyond what I could have ever imagined. I just got into wrestling so I could be in a wrestling ring and have my first match. And anything beyond that, to me, was bonus. It was icing on the cake, So to be able to look back at my accomplishments and the people that I've inspired it brings so much joy, really, to me. And so there's not a lot in wrestling for me to do on screen. Now, I still have some goals off screen. Like, I'd love to get into producing, and I love putting shows together and match times and match cards and just kind of painting that, placing the stones in the mosaic of a professional wrestling show. I really enjoy doing that, and I love working with young talent too. So I'm doing a lot of seminars, but in terms of like being in the ring, there's more behind me than there is in front of me.
Would you like to maybe one day work at the Performance Center or something like that?
Maybe, yeah. Or actually, I kind of want to work for Impact Wrestling in a backstage role. I'd love to do that because they're in Canada, so it's not too far away.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have to relocate. And I'm friends with a lot of talent there, and there's so much there. I watch their shows, and I just I can't watch it as a fan. I can't watch wrestling. I can't sit back and enjoy shows as a fan. I think those days are gone. Like, I'm sitting there just critiquing over and over and over again. Like, oh, maybe if we extended this or cut this a little bit and maybe did this finish, that could, constantly my mind is just going, in terms of like the direction of the presentation, And so I see Impact and I see all the talent there, and there's so much young talent that I feel like if I could just offer a little bit of my experience or guidance, that like I could improve on the product that you see in front of you,
When you go out on these speaking tours, what exactly is the message that you're putting out there?
Oh, the message is simple, and it's that life isn't about what happens to us. Life is about how we respond to what happens to us. You know,
that's so good.
like adversity is going to happen to everybody. And to me, the most successful people that I know, that I encounter every day, are people that respond well to adversity. They don't look at adversity in terms of like a self-pity kind of perspective, which is, why is this happening to me? Although there may be elements of that in the beginning, it's all about, okay, this is happening to me. Now, what am I going to do about it from a constructive point? And so to me, I try to carry that message to kids, because honestly, I think the biggest handicap you can have is looking at yourself as a victim. And I see a lot of kids these days, and when we were kids too, a lot, same thing.
Sure.
Disenfranchised kids, like, why'd this happen? Why'd that happen? It's everybody else's fault, not my own fault, But to me, that's a bigger handicap than even missing a limb.
Do you think bigger adversity for you was missing or losing your leg, or was it the drug addiction?
No, definitely the drug addiction, for sure. The biggest handicap, the biggest opponent that I've ever had in my life wasn't the cancer. It wasn't Brock Lesnar or the Big Show. It was the man in the mirror. Like, I don't know if you can relate to this or not, but at times in my life, I've gotten in my own way, and I've the pun intended, sort of. I've cut my legs off at certain points in my life, and I look back and I'm like, man, I wish I could change that, or I wish I could do this. But now, since I have the ability to reach out and ask for help, and the ability to receive help and take direction, my life is amazing. People ask me about my leg all the time, and I tell them the story about how I lost it, and they always say the same thing, which is, of course, they always go, oh my God, I'm so sorry that happened to you. And that kind of like puts me down here, and them looking down on me, so to speak, like, oh, you poor thing, I'm sorry. But man, my response is, if you saw the quality of my life, you would not be sorry. Bad things happen all the time to everybody. It's about how we respond to them, how we reach out and ask for help, maybe even more importantly, if we have the ability to receive help. Because that is the thing that used to block me all the time. Like, my pride and my ego would get in the way and saying, I don't need your help. But my biggest attribute is my ability to receive help and take action based off the information that I'm getting.
There's a lot of people with a prosthetic limb that would wear pants. I love that you own this, though. You're wearing shorts. You wear shorts quite a bit. Is that something you decided early on?
Yeah, I don't care. I've had one leg for 28 years, and to me, it's like it's a badge of my ability to survive, and it's a reminder to me that, hey, look, this is where you came from, and this is how close to death you were, and this, my friends that I had in Children's Hospital that are no longer with us, I can be a representation or a voice for them and for their stories, and so I carry a lot of responsibility because I survived internally within me, and I want to honor their memories, and I want to honor my memories and the sacrifices my mom and my loved ones made for me to allow me to be at this point too.
When you first walked into a wrestling school with a prosthetic limb, was the trainer like, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
Nope, not here.
No, I was smart enough, because for wrestling school, I knew that I was worried about the resistance that I was going to get from a trainer. I was worried about being rejected from the school, and so I'm a carny at heart. You know what I mean? Like, I got into the right business, because what I did was I wore pants. And I came in a week before the school started, the class started, and I paid my tuition in full up front in cash, because I knew there would be a less likely scenario for them to reject me if they had all of my money, because then I'd have to refund my money, of course, And so I came in a week early, I paid my tuition full in cash, I wore pants, I did not mention my leg one bit at all. Because I knew that would give me the best opportunity to get into class. I knew once I got into the class, into the ring, I'd be fine. Because I have a passion for professional wrestling, and I'm an athlete, and I wanted nothing more than to be in that ring. So I knew nothing was going to stop me once I got into the ring. The biggest question for me was, am I going to be able to get in the ring in the first place?
Once you started training, did you decide early on that you were going to be a one-legged wrestler, like you were going to take the limb off?
I didn't really have much of an option, Chris.
Really?
Because I have one leg.
That's not what I mean. I mean, were you training with
you're
your prosthetic?
wrestling with
Yes.
the leg on? No, there was not, because I wrestled in high school without the leg on, and I'm much quicker and more agile and more balanced, believe it or not, without the leg on.
Oh wow.
Yeah, because I've been hopping around on one leg since I was 8 years old, so I'm used to having. I don't think about having one leg. Just like you don't think about having two legs. It just is. It's just kind of in the background. It's kind of running in the background. But I wrestled in high school without my leg on, and I backyard wrestled without my leg on too, because that enabled me to do all the flips and stuff.
What was your backyard wrestling name?
It was Tenacious Z.
Oh, that was your Impact name, your TNA name.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. I was a backyard wrestler as well.
Yeah, well, I think everybody was. And it's weird because it was so hidden forever.
Yeah.
Even all the wrestlers coming,
But then the internet kind of changed that.
The internet changed it.
Yeah.
We just like drug addiction, we're reducing the stigma.
No, nobody should be backyard wrestling. Okay.
We want to eliminate the stigma. Yeah, everybody should be backyard wrestling.
I almost broke my neck.
You know, I'm going to encourage my children to backyard wrestle.
I don't believe you for a second. When we pulled into your driveway, I saw your mom. She was leaving. We were getting here, and I recognized her from WWE TV.
Yeah.
Obviously, there was that segment where Brock Lesnar.
She's a talent.
Yeah, she's a
She's
talent.
amazing.
Brock Lesnar beat you up in front of your mom.
And my brother and my grandmother.
Right. Now that you're a father, how do you look at that segment differently? Because you bled a lot.
I feel bad. I feel bad for my mom. And she was such a pro. Like, how can you sit there in the front row and watch this, even if you know that it's scripted, even if you know that it's coming? And she knew everything that was going to happen. She had her cues, except for the blood. She did not know about the blood, and she was pissed. So
you bled a lot.
It was the first time I ever gigged.
Is this the scar here?
Yes.
That's a big scar.
Listen, I don't know what WWE was thinking. Let's take a 19-year-old barely trained wrestler who's only been wrestling for about 6 months, and let's ask him to gig on national television for the first time in his life. What could go wrong? This is what went wrong.
How many stitches is that?
Nothing.
What?
No, I think they glued it up and they taped it up, and I was out partying all night the night that it happened, because it was right here in Detroit, Joe Louis Arena.
Like I watched it back recently, and he hits you damn hard with the chair.
Yeah, that's hard to watch. And that WWE has done a really good job, I think, of eliminating those shots to the head.
Yeah.
Because if you go back and watch the stuff from the 90s or early 2000s, like we're talking about, it's graphic and it's overly done.
Oh, yeah.
To a certain point where you're like, oh, you can't watch it.
Was the blade in your wrist?
Yeah, it was in my wrist tape. Arn Anderson made it for me. I look back like, what was my life? You know what I mean?
Seriously.
Arn Anderson made it for, and then after I was in the doctor's office and Billy Gunn walked in, and if you ever met Billy Gunn, I'm sure you have.
He's been on many times.
He's a giant human being, and he's a teddy bear. He walked in, he took one look at me and goes, "You dumb son of a bitch." I'm like, oh, thanks, Billy. It made me feel good about myself. No, but yeah, so I take the chair shot, and everyone thinks that chair shot was, I don't remember that chair shot even like hurting a little bit. I think because of all the adrenaline and the nervousness of like, oh my God, now I have to get color. We're at Joe Louis Arena, first time I've ever stepped foot in this arena. Mm-hmm. And I'm performing and I'm wrestling Brock Lesnar. And this angle is important because we're trying to get Brock over as a heel. Yeah. And it was hot-shotted. It was the last second that day they made the match. I was supposed to wrestle Matt Hardy that night because I was in a story with him. And so so the chair shot happens, and I pull the gig out, and I poke and I twist because that's how I was taught to do it. And nothing happens. There's nothing. So I'm like, oh crap. And I feel Brock Lesnar walking over to me to pick me up, and now here comes the shot that we need. So I do it again. Poke, twist a little bit, and I drag a little bit, thinking that'll do it. Again, nothing. Right? So there's nothing. So Brock is literally picking me up at this point, and I'm like, fuck it. I just dig it in my head. I just went like that. Because what else am I going to do? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm put in that position, and we need to get this color for the angle. We're at Joe Louis Arena. They're entrusting me to convey the brutality of Brock Lesnar, and this needs to happen.
Can you imagine explaining this to someone who doesn't get wrestling?
Here's the thing. Here's the
I
thing.
hid a razor blade in some tape so I could slice my forehead open.
Here's the thing, and this is why and this is a big reason why I've slowed down on my wrestling bookings. You know Gregory Iron,
of course,
close personal friend, inspiration of mine, inspiration of yours, and everybody watching. He's the only wrestler in the world that wrestles with cerebral palsy. And he's awesome, and he's not only that, but he's a great dude, and he's a great wrestler. We're in New Jersey wrestling a couple of trash bags. I don't want to say that. No. Did I say that? Can we cut? Can we go post-production?
It's fine.
We're wrestling a couple of guys, and Greg hurts himself in the match. He's on the top rope, and the guy's supposed to come and just gently touch his leg so it looks like he's getting crotched on the top rope. It happens most every show that you see. Pretty routine in terms of the bumps that we take. The guy grabs Greg's foot and he yanks it. Now Greg coming down to crotch himself. He has one functioning hand, so he can't brace himself for the fall. So he takes the crotch, very literally, nuts first, and he rips his penis.
Yeah.
And that may sound like a joke or something. It's not.
I remember.
We get into the back, and there is blood just all over his tights, and he's a hothead. He's cursing like, oh, what the F, this, that, and the other. And then he looks down, he's like, oh, great, my dork is bleeding. And I start laughing because naturally anything dork related is going to get a laugh out of me. I'm 36 years old. I'll never grow out of that.
I don't know if you're censoring yourself or you actually called it a dork, because that's amazing.
So, but all of a sudden this pool of blood. Anyway, long story short, they take him to the hospital. We're there all night. We're there for 12 hours. He doesn't get released until 11 a.m. the next day. Me and Matt Cross, M-Dog 20, we slept in the car for an hour. We're sitting in the waiting room. Haven't showered. We're facing a 9-hour drive back to Cleveland, and then for me 2.5 hours back here to Detroit.
Yeah.
And anyway, long story short, he has they put a tube. What's it called?
A catheter.
Catheter. Yeah. A catheter, and he's got a bag. And he can't move, and he's in so much pain and he can't walk. And we blow out a tire at a certain point on the way back.
Oh my God!
And so we're on no sleep. We haven't showered. Greg has his penis ripped. He's got a catheter. He's got a bag. He's just like sitting in the front seat groaning in pain. I'm driving on a donut. You see what I'm saying? And I'm facing 11 hours on the road. And all of a sudden I had this epiphany, which is like, man, I don't want my kids doing what I'm doing right now. I don't want them to do this. I don't want them to grow up and go through their trials and tribulations and successes and failures to get to the point where they're driving 11 hours home on a donut with their friend with a catheter in his. I don't want them to follow this path.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, and then I thought, my next thought to what your original question was, which is like, oh my God, I wonder if this is how my mom feels about what I do. And I'm like, she has to. That's a parent to a son type of scenario or relationship.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And so at that point, I made a very conscious decision that I was going to phase out in-ring performing and phase in other things. Whether it's out of ring, producing, seminars, speaking, DDP Yoga, whatever it is, I'm going to do more of that and less of this.
If your kid came to you, though, in 10 years and said, Dad, I want to do what you did. I want to be a wrestler. What do you say?
I'm going to support it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I'm going to support my son. If he wants to be a ballerina, if he wants to do whatever, my love, and that's what my mom did for me too.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure she rolled her eyes hard when I said, "Hey, listen, Mom, I'm going to be a professional wrestler." In her head, I'm sure she's like, Zach, you weigh 127 pounds and you have one leg. So like, why are you doing this to yourself? And why would you put your body through it? But I think it's up to the individual to find their own path, and for my kids, I'm going to support them no matter what they do 100%.
There were those rumors that you had a bad attitude as you were leaving WWE. Mm-hmm. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, I didn't.
Like that, your ego got the best of you.
Yeah, man. I was like suffocated by my pride and ego. I really would, because I wanted to prove everybody wrong and prove that I belong. But here's the thing: my entire life, I've always felt like that the day you walk into class and the teacher gives you the book of life and the secret of life and how to be an actual human being, I felt like I skipped school that day and everyone else got that book and I didn't get that book. You see what I'm saying? I've always felt like I was on the sideline watching the parade of life go by in front of me. That I was very close to it, but I was never a part of. And so wrestling was, in my head, was my way to be a part of. And I got really, really close. You know, I had success and I had a nice contract and people had the adulation and people cheering for me and the accolades and all of that. But I never quite fit in. Like no matter where I go, I've never quite fit in. And wrestling was no different. And so I didn't into that locker room specifically is what I'm talking about. And so the more I tried to fit in, the more I would mess up and push people away. And so it became this kind of like weird self-fulfilling prophecy of like pushing everybody away and then getting to the point where they didn't want me in the locker room at all.
So who were you riding with?
I was riding with Rhino a lot and Little Guido, and towards the end, Brian Kendrick and Paul London. They were my road dogs. Well, I got along with those guys because we were three young punks. I mean, they were like 20, 21, 22 at the time. I was 20 years old or whatever it was, and it was like, you know how you are when you're that age. Like everyone older than you is out of touch, and they're not with
even
it.
if it's like 3 years old, and you're like, that guy's so old.
They're not with it. You know, that guy's a dork. You know, whatever. And so like we were like the three troublemakers. But Rhino was so helpful, man. Rhino sat me down so many times, to his credit, and I didn't listen to him. Or I mean, I listened to him, but I didn't receive the help or take action. Rhino would be like, "Hey Zach, you're messing up, man. Here's what you need to do. Do this, that, and the other. And this is. I know you're not this person, but this is how people's perception of who you are.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter who I am. If somebody's perception of who I am is different, that's gonna be their reality. And so it was up to me to kind of change my behavior, to change the perception, and I never did. And it got worse.
A lot of this is like, it sounds to me like Tony Robbins stuff. You know, perception's reality. And, you know, reacting. Life's not about what happens to you. It's how you react to what happens to you. Are those the type of people that inspire you?
It's ownership of it. Yeah, absolutely. Tony Robbins. I don't know. I don't really have like a guru. I have a lot of people in my everyday life that inspire me. People who have overcome a lot and people that help others that are of service. And so I think we're talking about universal spiritual principles that are applicable in every situation. So whether it comes from Tony Robbins or from a local spiritual mentor that I've had for
it comes down to be a good human.
Have ownership of who you are and take the right action.
I think so many people don't have self-awareness and aren't able to see themselves from the outside looking in.
You just got to open up Facebook and you can come to that conclusion.
Very true. Yeah, but people just aren't aware of like, if they say a certain thing or act a certain way, how that's going to be perceived by somebody.
No, they have no idea until they're faced with the consequences of their actions. And I have the benefit of, you know, being 19, 20 years old and having to face very real consequences to my action on a public level. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so like I had that benefit. A lot of people, like how we're talking about, we can look at somebody on Facebook and we can, you know, laugh at their posts or whatever and be like, can you believe this guy? I can't believe he's saying this. And then we move on with our lives. But that person who we're laughing about doesn't get honest feedback from who they're talking about. So how can they change if their reality is like, whatever I'm doing is fine?
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? I had to face consequences. I think people aren't, I think there's an accountability issue. There's some kind of disconnect there from, and I think you're right. People are not aware of it. I'm guilty of it too.
Well, we all are on a certain level.
Yeah, and I try to be cognizant of it.
Yeah.
Be like, you know, how am I looking? I'm in the middle of a speech, or I'm working with kids, or I'm doing yoga or something. I try to think, how am I looking right now? You know, because I may think I'm freaking Tony Robbins up there killing it, you know what I mean? And some kid might be so disconnected from the message that I'm trying to bring that he's not going to receive anything. So it's up to me to meet him at his level and change the way I'm doing things. So I have to be cognizant of that too.
You put out an interesting tweet maybe a couple months ago. You were basically thanking Vince McMahon for everything he did for you.
Oh, yeah.
Which is quite often the opposite of what happens when a lot of people leave WWE.
Yeah.
But you said that, you know, he let you be in the ring with Hulk Hogan. He got you 2 prosthetic limbs.
Yeah.
What else did Vince do for you?
I mean, that would be enough for anybody, right? Like,
well, you know.
like, that's pretty big. He also paid for my treatment. and for my drug addiction and alcoholism 9 years ago, it gave me 2 plane tickets, to treatment and from treatment.
Where was your treatment?
It was in Minnesota, and it's the world's best treatment facility in terms of drug addiction and alcoholism, and they paid for it.
Yeah.
And they paid for my transportation there and back, and they helped pay for a lot of the aftercare too, because I was involved in. As soon as I came back from treatment, I moved into a sober house with like 13 other insane, like brand new sober dudes, and it was nuts, but that's where I needed to be for to have the foundation for my recovery to get what you see now, which is a full and complete human being.
Yeah.
I had to kind of navigate through those waters to get there, and WWE supported that along the way, and they do so much good, not only for me but for a lot of people that are out there living, and there's a spiderweb effect, right? So if they invest in me and my life turns around, but what about the lives that I get to affect today that I can help? And then the lives that those people can help. And what about the lives that other WWE wrestlers that they've helped? And so on and so forth, And so it's really unspoken about, and Vince McMahon gets a lot of slack, and he deserves it, but he's a human being, he's a genius, and when you reach that level, you're going to get both good and bad, But so I want to make sure, I want to tell my truth and my story, which is like, thank you, Vince. Like honestly, you gave a kid who was, on his deathbed, losing his leg to cancer, 10 years removed from that, I'm in a ring with Hulk Hogan, living out my childhood fantasy, inspiring others, and then giving me legs to walk on. Thank you for that. And then 10 years after that, you're saving my life. And then now I get to be a 36-year-old father of 2, and I can affect other people's life in what I do in all of my work, whether it's speaking, yoga, wrestling, whatever it is.
Billy Gunn talked about his sobriety the last interview we did.
Oh, great.
His anniversary was coming up really soon. When's yours?
February 15th.
Is how many years?
I had celebrated 9 years of sobriety.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And I know that means a lot to people watching this who, might be struggling with that or might know someone that's struggling with that.
It's out there, man. Especially with the opiates, which is what I was on. I loved pain pills, and I loved the combination of pain pills and benzos. So like a Klonopin or a Xanax, and that kind of, and that cocktail is deadly because people take that cocktail and they go to sleep and they don't wake up. Yeah. That's how you're seeing all of the overdoses, and then of course with the fentanyl and the heroin and all of that going on. But it's out there, man. My life. The quality of everything good in my life is based on my recovery and my sobriety. And how I maintain my recovery and my sobriety is I help others recover and get sober too. So I mean, I'm in these streets, man, and I see, I see new sobriety, and there's nothing better to me than seeing a new guy come into this world just absolutely beaten down and broken, just like I was, and watch his life just piece by piece, month by month, year by year get put back together into a full and complete human being. Like there's nothing to see that transformation. There's nothing like it, and so that's what my priority is. I mean, my life goes, number 1 priority is recovery. Number 2 is my family, my wife and my kids, and number 3 is my work. And that's others, the order things go. And so if
it's so interesting, because a lot of people will go, how is your family not first? And I think that if recovery wasn't first,
I wouldn't have a family.
Exactly.
There would be no family to come home to if I didn't have recovery first. Yeah. It has to be number 1. And then and my wife, thank God, she's so understanding of that too. Because we've been together for 11 years. I've been sober for 9 years. So she saw me at my absolute, so she knows where I come from, and she knows what it can be if I'm not that recovered individual today.
You also had a funny tweet right before the Royal Rumble.
That blew up, man.
That was funny. You said, "Oh, so both feet have to touch the ground to be eliminated?" You'd win every Rumble.
I would. Yeah, I'd win every Rumble, and then I'd have the main event every single WrestleMania, and then I don't think the stockholders would appreciate that. So I think they intentionally keep me away from the Royal Rumble.
Were you officially released from WWE?
What do you mean?
Or did your contract end and they just didn't?
No, I got fired. Yeah, they fired me. Ever been fired before?
No, I'm happy to say I
Really?
haven't.
You've never been fired? You never had that experience?
No, tell me about it. What's it like?
It's awesome.
Yeah. Did you get a call? Was it a fax? I know they do a lot of that.
Dude, it was crazy because, I mean, I fired myself, essentially, through my actions. And I hold zero ill will towards WWE, and they had to do what they had to do. It's a business decision. And although I did carry around that hurt and that anger for a long time, happy to say I don't have it today. I knew the writing was on the wall, or had a strong inclination that I wasn't going to be brought back. So Johnny Ace was in charge of public relations, talent relations at the time, and he called me up and he goes, "Hey Zach, we're gonna fly you into the offices next week, have a meeting with you." So I said, "Okay, great." But then I go, "John, are you guys firing me?" And he goes, "Well, we're going to talk about it when you get here." And then I go, "John, listen, if you're going to fire me now. Don't fly me in to New York. I have one leg, brother. I can go through TSA. You're going to put me on a plane. You're going to send a car. Think about all the money you're going to waste.
Right.
You take me to the offices and sit me down and fire me now. I have to go back in the car, go back on a plane, and then get home and then try to rebuild just fire me now." And he goes, we'll talk about it at the meeting. So I said, all right. And then so that's exactly what happened.
Oh, geez.
They flew me in. I didn't even meet with Vince or Johnny. I met with Jim Ross, who had very little interaction with up until this point. And JR brought me into his office and he fired me. And he said, "Hey, we're going to let you go. You're young. Go out there in the Indies, get some experience. The door's always open." He gave me one of those kind of speeches. I think they were worried about maybe a lawsuit because of my disability or something, or maybe I could spin it into some kind of thing, which never even entered.
Oh, I see what you mean.
So I think they wanted it in person, and they want Jim Ross to kind of deliver. That's just my conspiracy theory, but either way, they flew me out to New York, and they drove me up to the offices to fire me, to drive me back to the airport and fly me back home.
What a fun flight home that was.
It was terrible. Yeah, I woke up, and this is in the infancy of the internet. We didn't have social media back in 2004. Yeah. I mean, we had LiveJournal or something. We didn't have MySpace. But when I got home, the news spread. I think they put it on their website. So I took my phone out of airplane mode, and it was just like voicemails and texts and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, I guess the whole world knows,
Yeah. So are you still a fan? Do you still watch WWE or anything? I'll
watch WrestleMania or the Royal Rumble or the NXT TakeOver stuff, which I'm a huge fan of, but on a regular basis I don't, because that's such a huge commitment for a fan. I mean, you're asking 3 hours every Monday, and which if you're like a hardcore fan, like before I had a family and before I had a life and before I had responsibilities and jobs and I traveled and all of that, that's awesome, because you have so much content all the time. Yeah. But for me, it's hard to keep up. I mean, I follow what's going on through social media, through Twitter, and I kind of, I keep my finger on the pulse of who's coming up or what the interesting angle is or things of that nature, but I don't follow it on a week-to-week basis.
Are you excited for what AEW might possibly potentially do?
No. Here's the thing. AEW is going to be the new WCW, man. All the ingredients, all of the ingredients are there. Like, the indies have never been stronger in terms of attendance, merchandise sales, interest. There are more fans now than there was back in the 90s, and there's a space there for AEW to step into it, and they're going to get so much support because those guys are incredibly talented. Tony Khan, who you just interviewed, right? Yeah. He's a marketing genius. He's going to provide so much structure from a corporate side of things, and let the wrestlers do what they do best too. And so it's in terms of if this was a crock pot and some beef stew is being made, in my head I'm like, this is going to be the best beef stew ever, because all of the ingredients are top notch and they're perfect and they're in the right order and it's set for the right time. So I'm really excited about what they're going to do.
Well, look, I'm super proud of you for everything.
Thanks, man.
I want to acknowledge everything that you're doing and everything that you have accomplished. It's just so great to see you.
Good to see you too.
So thank you so much,
my
man.
pleasure.
That was awesome.
Yeah, thanks, Chris.
Boy, it is hard not to like Zach Gowen. Thanks for checking out our conversation. If you don't already, make sure to subscribe and click the notification bell so you don't miss out on more awesome interviews like this. I'm walking very fast right now because I'm on one of these moving walkway gimmicks. I spent the whole day today with Rhino and then with Zach Gowen, so I've been calling everything a gimmick. It's a wrestling thing to do. I've known Zach for 7 or 8 years, and he is such an incredible inspiration. I'm so proud of everything he's accomplished. I mean, whether he has 1 leg, 2 legs, or 0 legs, that guy is just an amazing inspiration. So happy for him, so happy for his family, his beautiful family. And I love how open and honest he is about everything, not just in WWE, but in his personal life. His drug addiction that he's overcome and has made him the person that he is today. And now he's able to share that story with everybody, including with you. I hope that you were inspired watching this interview. So, I'm at the airport right now, if you couldn't tell. Looks very airport-y, doesn't it? I'm on my way back to Fort Lauderdale tonight. I woke up at 4:30 this morning to board a flight to Detroit to have Rhino pick me up from the airport and then drive me to his marina where we did that interview. If you haven't checked that out already, I will link that down right here. Then Rhino drove me to Zach Gowen's house, or Zach Gowen's parents' house, where we did that interview there. And now I'm at the airport to head back to Fort Lauderdale. 3-hour flight here, 3-hour flight back there, and gonna upload this for you. So I appreciate you checking this out. I just appreciate you in general. If anyone hasn't told you this yet today, you're awesome.